This video is sponsored by Loot Crate.
So, I think Obi-Wan and Anakin is probably my new favorite comic of the new canon. Hey guys, welcome to my Geek Talk. Today we are going to discuss the full arc, the full series of Obi-Wan and Anakin. It's a 5-issue series about Obi-Wan and Anakin. It takes place a few years after The Phantom Menace, between the years of Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. I have my first review here somewhere on the screen, so go ahead and look at that if you want to see my review for the first one. I'm doing a more overall review right now. First, I would like to talk about the closed and the open. Now, Anakin and Obi-Wan came to this planet because they got a distress call wanting help. And they met these two factions called the closed and the open. Apparently, this world had a war a long time ago, and I thought it had a very good commentary about long-fought conflicts and how the two factions don't even remember what the original issue was. They just remember that all they know is just fighting. And I feel that that's true just even in real life. Sometimes you might have an argument with your significant other or your friend or your family, and that fight can go on for so long that you forget what the beginning of the fight was for. It just becomes about the fight itself, not about the reason for the fight. And I like that was something that was brought up, and how perpetual that fighting can get if you don't, nip it in the bud. And again, I like that Anakin, he's not evil. He's not pure evil. He always has good intentions, or at least from the start, before he became Darth Vader. He wants to help. He really wants to help, and it's Kenobi who is trying to play both sides. He wants to help, but he also knows that the Jedi can only go so far in what they can do. There's only so much they can do, and I love that there's this whole thing between Kenobi and Anakin. Like, Anakin just wants to do right no matter what, like whatever the circumstances, and Kenobi knows that there's a little bit more to that. It's a little bit more complicated than that, and there's a lot that was going on there that I enjoyed. I do like in the second issue or the third issue, Anakin has trouble controlling the beast. Obi-Wan uses his beast manipulation to basically calm the minds of these beasts, and Anakin has a hard time, and they flash back to the Jedi Temple where he was training to do it, and all he can feel is the rage and the hatred within the beast. He can't calm it. He can't tell it. But I like that we can see the beginnings of this and how dedicated Anakin is to learning and training, because he doesn't go, oh, I hate it, I'm just gonna choke the beast. He's like, no, I'm gonna learn this, I'm gonna figure this out. And we see that if you think about this comic and then leading into Attack of the Clones, when he's facing the Reek, he calms it down so that he can ride on top of it and start using it to killing other people. But you can see that there is progression there, and I feel like sometimes Anakin gets oversimplified as this really bold. He's a bold character, he's very brash, but he's not one-minded. He's not like a raging bull or anything like that. Yeah, sometimes he can get off of the righteous path, but he still knows what's right, and he knows what he should be doing to get there. And it shows that sometimes he can get there. He just lacks patience, and that's the main thing, is that he just doesn't have patience, and he can't let go of things that he has no control over. But we can see here that sometimes he can. Sometimes Anakin can make good on a bad situation for himself. I also like Palpatine taking Anakin down to the lower levels. I thought there was some interesting insight he gave about how the rarest resource in the lower levels of Coruscant is the sun, is the sky, that some people in their whole lives don't even know the sky exists. They think it's a myth. And I also like that we see him in the underworld, like really being a part of that and knowing what's going on, because that's going to play into the Galactic Empire and how he's letting the Hutts roam free, and he's doing deals with Prince Xizor and the Black Sun, things like that. So you see the stepping stones for that. So I liked seeing that, and I liked how he was manipulating Anakin as he should be. We always see him doing that throughout the series. He's slowly planting the idea that the Senate is corrupt and that it needs to be changed, which of course is true, but he's really nailing that into Anakin, that they need a new system of government. And he's saying that oh, I could just tell the Jedi to shut everything down, or to do this or that, but I would just be a dictator and I wouldn't want that. And he's kind of still playing up to the fact that he's a good guy, but still warming Anakin up to the idea that, maybe a galactic empire is the best way to go. Having a dictatorship, having a totalitarian government is the best way to go. So I like those little seeds that he's planting, and they work very well. Like, he's not being very overt about it. He's just, just talking about it without, really putting it into Anakin. Like, sometimes with the Jedi, I think they always are like, do this, do that to Anakin. And in the way Palpatine works, or how the way the New Age Sith works, is that they're very cunning, and they plant little seeds. It's like Satan. For people who are like into the Bible, I'm actually not religious, but I do know about the Bible because I grew up with it. But Satan, that's the way he works. He works by tricking you into something. He looks very beautiful. He looks very nice, and then he brings you into his fold, and then he corrupts you. So I like that. I like that aspect. That's very much in line with what Palpatine should be doing, and how the mind of a Sith in this age should work. But it does kind of suck that everyone is manipulating Anakin, whether it's Palpatine manipulating him, or Kenobi manipulating him, or the Open manipulating him in the planet. Like, they want to have him fix their machine so they can destroy the clothes. But there is one aspect to this that's different, and that's who cares about Anakin. While yes, Kenobi does want to mold him, he wants to mold him in the right way. He's really trying his best. Kenobi, out of all the 3 examples I just made, is the only one who really cares about Anakin, and I think that really shows here. And also vice versa, Anakin also cares for Kenobi. That even the closed mercenary, the soldier, says, that kid idolizes you, and it's so true. Like, they're really tied together. Like, even though they have, their disagreements and everything, they are brothers. They are brothers, they're father, son. They have that whole dynamic going on. And that's what kind of makes the ultimate failure of Kenobi so tragic. He really is trying, and he really does care for Anakin, and the fact that he does eventually have to fight Anakin and destroy Anakin and all of that, it makes it all the more heartbreaking, because they are brothers. And ultimately, Palpatine's manipulations are what eventually wins at the end, even going for in just the scope of this comic, because in the first issue we saw that Anakin wanted to leave, and now we get a sense of why. It's because Palpatine was telling him about, the Jedi aren't really getting anything done, and the Senate's not getting anything done. So Anakin's like, okay, I'm just going to be a lone wolf, because I really do want to help people, and I don't think this system is working out the best for me. So that's why he wants to leave, and it's because of the seeds planted by Palpatine, and eventually those seeds will take root later on, and then he goes way off the deep end. So eventually, Obi-Wan finds the source of the distress call, and it's a woman named Sarah, who basically wants to bring back the old world, and she keeps sending them gifts, sky gifts as they call it, of the art, like the statues and the medallions that the world used to make, because it used to be basically kind of like Naboo. It was very artsy and very highbrow, if that makes sense. But the way she wants to do it is that she saw a relic from an old holocron or an old hologram, or it's an old picture of how powerful Force sensitives are, and that's why she called the Jedi over. She basically wants them to kill all of the adults and have the children rebuild the world. And she has this little thing about how the old people are stuck in their ways, and there's no way of changing them, but there's still hope in the young and things like that. And I thought maybe that could have been commentary on Anakin and Obi-Wan's relationship, because Anakin is still young and he still can be molded into something good, make something better of the, for lack of a better word, world that they have now, or the galaxy they have. It's kind of a play, like, the world that they're on now could represent the universe, or the galaxy at large, and Anakin is the youth, the closed and the open youth in this galaxy. So it's a huge thing that I think it plays into it. But basically, yeah, so she sees this picture and she thinks it's a Jedi, and then Obi-Wan points out, he asks, when this still had color, because she said it used to have color, what color lightsaber did this Force sensitive have? And she's like, red. Does it matter? And he's like, oh my god, that's the reason why she thinks that what she wants is for them to eradicate everybody, and that's what the Sith used to do. That's how they dealt with problems, like just kill everybody and rebuild from the ashes. That's like the Sith mentality. And Obi-Wan's like, nah, that's not what we do. We try to spare as many people as we can. And I love that about Kenobi. He's not perfect. That's the thing. He's not perfect, but he is always striving for the Jedi way. That's always my favorite part about Kenobi, is that he doesn't have all the answers. He's not really sure what to tell Anakin, how to train him, but he is going to try his darndest to do it, and do it by way of the Jedi code. And that's, holding life dear, helping others when you can, putting others before yourself. He's always about that, no matter what. And in this comic, that's prevalent, and he's basically teaching these two factions, and including Sierra, how to do it, because they all got it wrong. Like, the two factions want to kill each other. Sierra wants to kill both the factions and just rebuild, and he's like, nah, that's not the way to do it. And Kenobi's just the best. Like, he is what all Jedi should strive to be, and it's what they all do strive to be, but he always just does it so well. And I love the ending and also hate it. I love it because the way Kenobi basically resolves the situation is that he calls the Republic to tell them there's like a valuable resource on the planet, and they come running. They're like, all right, everybody, stop this fighting, stop it now. And then like Anakin asks, like, how'd you get them to come? And he's like, oh, I told them, like, there's like this valuable resource on the planet, so they came. It'll take them a while to investigate to realize there might not actually be, but at least they're here to stop the fighting. And I was like, the reason why I hate it is because it's like, that's why the Republic sucks, because that's all they care about. And that's what was established in the first issue, when Anakin was asking about the planet and like, how come the Republic never saved the planet? And because Obi-Wan said there was no valuable resource, there's no value to this world, so why save them? And that's exactly how he got them to save them. And I like that Kenobi basically bent the rules a little bit, because it's been hard for him to kind of cope with that. Like, he really knows what the right thing is to do, and the right thing to do is to help this world. But he also understands that the Jedi is dedicated to the Republic. Like, they pledged to the Republic. So I like that. Like, he basically bent the rules so that they can get help on this planet. And I thought that was a really clever way of bringing a solution, or at least a temporary solution to this planet. And then he also makes a little thing about saying the reason that he was able to do that is because he's not Obi-Wan Kenobi, but because he's a Jedi, and that he can do what he can do because he's part of this larger group. This group that can help the galaxy versus just a lone ranger, which Anakin wanted to be. I don't know if I fully agree with that. I get what they were coming from the story standpoint, mostly because I value that, because I like that Anakin wants to stay with Obi-Wan. Because there's a whole flashback to when Obi-Wan was talking to Yoda and about Anakin wanting to leave. Kenobi brings up that if he does leave, he will leave with him. Like, he will continue his training, he will keep his vow to Qui-Gon Jinn, and he will leave the Order with Anakin. And I thought that's where I found the value from, is that Anakin was really agreeing to the fact that he would be staying with Kenobi less than he will be staying with the Jedi. Like, I didn't really think that was like a valid argument that I think would really work for Anakin, saying like, oh, the reason why I can make this happen is because I'm part of the Jedi Order. Like, I don't know if that really would have worked. The way I rationalize that is that Anakin was agreeing to being with Obi-Wan and continuing his training with Obi-Wan. So I did like that a lot. This is such a great comic book, and it's such a great arc to the comic book. Definitely, I'm gonna say it's probably my favorite so far of the new canon, even above Kanan. Kanan was my favorite previously, but this is definitely it. And I love stuff like this, seeing the relationship between Kenobi and Anakin. We always get the best stuff from the Clone Wars micro series and the CGI series. Like, we get why they were such good friends. Like, we get why the old version of Obi-Wan, Ben Kenobi, would say he was a great friend, because we don't really get that from the movie so much. They kind of try to do it in episode 3. Like I always said, I always thought episode 1, it could have been episode 1 if they wanted to, but it should have been maybe episode 2, should have been episode 1, and episode 2 should have been the Clone Wars, and it should have been totally about the developing relationship between Anakin and Obi-Wan, and how Palpatine is manipulating Anakin into, becoming Darth Vader and becoming a Sith and becoming a Darksider. Because we don't really get a lot of that. We got what we got from episode 2. Well, was episode 2. You guys all know. That's a whole other thing. But yes, I love this comic book series. The artwork, again, is like some of my favorite. I love the poses. I love the framing and the color scheme of this comic book, and some of the shading. And this takes place on a snow planet, so they have a lot of really good snow effects. And yeah, it's just a really good comic. I could not recommend this enough. You definitely need to read this if you're interested in Star Wars at all, and if you're into comics. It's a 5-issue series. It's not very long. I think they're all like 30 pages each. But yeah, totally recommend it. Totally awesome. Thank you guys for watching my review. Peace, love, and may the Force be with you. Always.
Luke's open and calm mind allowed for a more adaptable fighting style, while Anakin's reliance on talent and aggression was a bit more rigid.
No, why are you mowing your lawn right now? I'm recording a Let's Play.